Howdy folks, today we will be unboxing the Springfield Prodigy 4¼ inch double stacked 9mm pistol. Now, full disclosure, I am not sponsored by anyone for this video. I bought this pistol brand new for roughly $1,300 of my own money. So without further ado, let's get this started. So inside the box, we have the pistol itself. Just make sure it's clear. There's nothing in there. Comes with one 17-round magazine, a cheap soft pistol case, some Allen keys, and this envelope has the manual in it, some warranty, safety stuff in there as well. So, some more paperwork. And here we have 20-round magazine, a gun lock you'll never use, and an optic plate for the hex optic that you'll also never use as well. So, with all that extra stuff out of the way, first impressions. The factory grip, it's good. It's plastic. It has good texturing to it. It's like medium sandpaper, so your hand won't slip. Hand grips pretty well naturally into this pistol for my hands. It is pretty heavy. That's to be expected from a steel framed pistol with a steel slide to help tame the recoil. Factory sights are good. Fiber optic front with blacked out rear, so it stands out. For the trigger, there's a little take up, hit a wall. It's a little bit of creep, it breaks. There's the reset, it's kind of long. Wall, breaks. Reset, wall, breaks. Reset, wall, breaks. So it's roughly a 5-pound trigger. It's better than a Glock trigger. It's not as good as the factory staccato triggers, but it's perfectly serviceable and it performs well enough. Magazines, they fit in pretty well. Should lock back. Drops freely. Slide stop. So one problem with this is that it's really hard for me to reach it without breaking my grip. I know they make aftermarket extensions for this, but out of the factory, you'll need to hit it with either your left hand or you have to break your grip to hit the slide release. So that's one not good thing about this compared to like a Glock or Beretta or other kind of pistol. One issue I've had right off the bat is if I rack the slide slowly and ride it forward, it actually gets hung up. So you'll see that the slide stop isn't actually engaged here, but the slide is locked back. And there's no magazine in here. From what I've heard, the slide is getting caught on disconnector. There might be burrs or something on disconnector from the factory. So it's getting hung up there. If I hit the back, the slide goes back into battery. If I do it again, it hangs up again. Hit the back, goes back into battery. Now, if I rack the slide properly, like I slingshot it, there's no issues there, but that's just one issue that I've had right off the factory. So it's not particularly a good thing to have. Factory Glocks don't have this problem, but you know, with the Prodigy, you might need to do some extra work on it to get to work. With the actual slide stop, hangs just fine. So it's the problem, maybe with the disconnector. I'll definitely play with the parts, but yeah, I will definitely need some work or breaking in at the very least. For accessories, you have a removable plate here. So in this case, you can take off the rear sight, put on a new plate. In this case, I'm planning to add an RMR footprint plate and add either a Holosun or a Trijicana Soro to this thing. And up front, you have a Picatinny rail on the dust cover. So you can add your favorite frame weight or weapon light to it. In this case, I'll add a Mount Light PL350. Safeties are pretty standard for 1911s, 2011s. So you have the grip safety as well as the manual safety. With it engaged, hammer won't fall. Pretty tactile. And even with the manual safety disengaged, grip safety should work. And if you disengage them, it should fall. So now we're going to take this out to the range and test this thing out. I'm here at the range testing out the Prodigy for the first time. I'm using Remington 115 grain full metal jacket. First thing I do is I shoot a 5-shot group just to see how it's sighted in. It's pretty flat shooting, although my initial group is shooting an inch to the left. I shoot another 5-shot group with the same ammunition at 7 yards, and the grouping is still about an inch to the left. I did break one shot to the upside, but everything else is about the same. So it does look like the sights are off by an inch to the left. Next up, I shoot the same Remington ammunition out of the 17-round magazine, just aiming at center mass. It is pretty flat shooting, however my group starts to increase in size towards the left, which I find pretty odd because normally I can keep my groups a bit tighter than that, but I am seeing the group widen a bit as I am shooting. Up next, I shoot the Blazer Brass 124 grain full metal jacket out of the 20-round magazine. As you can see, it's a bit less snappy with the 124 grain compared to the 115 grain rounds from earlier. The 20-round magazine functions just fine and all the rounds feed perfectly. All the rounds get fired perfectly as well. However, my shots are walking to the left as I shoot this group, and I'm wondering what's going on because I don't think my aim is that bad, even if I'm not used to using iron sights. I'm not sure why my shots are so far off to the left, so I shoot another 3-shot group with the Remington 115 grain, aiming towards the headbox, and that's when I realize my rear sight is way off to the left, and so that's why my shots were just so off to the left, was the rear sight was drifting left the whole time. And you can see here that the impacts of this group were way off to the left. I was aiming towards the headbox, but I ended up hitting the star group to the left. So that gives you an idea of how far off it was. Needless to say, that test firing was a bit disappointing. As you can see here, the rear sight actually drifted a fair bit to the left, and the set screw also loosened a bit. You can hear it wiggle, so you know it's pretty loose. And that's why my shots drifted to the left as the rear sight drifted to the left. This is pretty easily fixed with a sight pusher, but this is just not the quality control I would expect from a $1,300 gun. This is something I expect from more of a High Point or something like that. So, a little bit disappointing there. Now, I was planning on removing the rear sight anyways to install an optic, but this is just not the kind of thing you want to see on a duty grade or home defense firearm. It's acceptable on a competition firearm where you're planning to make upgrades, and if it jams or malfunctions, it's not the end of the world. But this just doesn't inspire confidence if you were using it in a real life or death situation. At least from the limited testing I did do, the 17-round and 20-round magazines performed just fine, so there's that going for it. Also, the few rounds I did shoot did help break the gun in, so now when I rack the slide and ride it forward a bit, it doesn't hang up on the disconnector anymore. So the function there has definitely improved, and it just seems that the gun does need to break in a bit before it functions a bit better, more smoothly. So probably put a few more 100 rounds on this, and then we'll see how it goes from there. But definitely we'll change out the optic, and we'll see how that pans out. So all in all, would I recommend the Prodigy? Unless you know what you're getting into for competition or willing to get hands-on for this, I would say no. you really want something that works out of box, just buy staccato. Or if you really want something for duty grade or home defense usage, you would probably opt for a Glock or a Beretta. Those work just fine. They've been tested. This gun is still kind of new, and we've heard lots of things about their quality control being spotty. So while they figure that out, I would go with more proven options as of this time, especially given the cost difference. But yeah, it is the cheapest baseline for 2011. And so if you know what you're getting into here and you're willing to get hands-on, it is the cheapest base to work with. And it might be better to work on this than a staccato because the starting point is $600 cheaper, especially if we're just going to throw away the trigger parts anyways. So yeah, I wouldn't recommend this unless you know what you're getting into. If you found this video helpful, please like and subscribe. Thanks guys, I'll see you next time. So for the trigger, oh god. Magazines, they fit in pretty well. Slide locks back. Oh, that's not good.